My golden child brother stole my car and crashed it, but my parents defended him, so I sued him and refused to settle. I'm a 29-year-old guy with an ordinary life. I work in tech, live in a small apartment, and for better or worse, I have a family that I can only describe as complicated. And by complicated, I mean my parents treat my older brother E like he walks on water, and me like I'm just the guy who fixes their computer. He's the golden child, no matter what he does. He could punch a wall in anger, and my parents would ask if he'd hurt his hand. Meanwhile, I'm the responsible one, the one who's supposed to keep everything together. I'd been okay with it for years, just dealt with it. This story isn't just about my car. It's about how this family stuff finally broke me. See, I just bought my first car. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was new, and it was mine. I'd saved for years to buy it. An actual symbol of my independence. He still drove a car our parents had bought him, even though he'd dinged it up from driving like a maniac. So when I got that car, it felt like a milestone, something I'd earned myself. One night, I went downstairs to grab something from my car. Maybe double-check something I left in there. When I got to the lot, it wasn't there. I circled around a few times, thinking I must have parked it somewhere else. But no, it was gone. I was about to call the cops when my phone buzzed with a text from E. Borrowed your car. Had to run some errands. Chill, I'll have it back soon. That's when I lost it. He hadn't asked. He hadn't even left me a heads up. Just took it. I called him and he picked up on the third ring, like he hadn't just stolen my car. What the hell, E? You can't just take my car without asking. I spat. Chill out. He laughed like I was overreacting. I was just taking it for a spin. What's the big deal? You know I'd never mess with your precious little car. But he did. 2 hours later he called again. This time there was no chill in his voice. Hey, don't freak out, but there was a bit of an accident. Bit of an accident? I repeated, feeling my blood pressure spike. E, what the hell did you do? It's not my fault, okay? He said, sounding genuinely annoyed, like I was the one putting him out. The road was slick, and this truck swerved, so I tried to get out of the way. Anyway, the car's kinda wrecked, but insurance will cover it, right? My insurance? I was practically yelling. That's not how insurance works, E. You're not on my policy. Relax. Don't be so uptight, he replied, as if I was just nitpicking. It's just a car. You'll get over it. A knot twisted in my stomach as I rushed to where he'd abandoned it. The front was smashed, the headlights were gone, and the whole hood looked like it had been through a blender. Totaled. I could tell from the way he left it, he'd been speeding. This wasn't a bit of an accident. I called my parents, hoping maybe finally they'd back me up. I explained everything, expecting at least some anger on my behalf, but the response I got made me feel like I was the crazy one. Well, it's just a car, my dad said. Maybe he just made a mistake. Dad, he crashed it without permission. Now I'm stuck paying because insurance won't cover it. My mom cut in with that dismissive, placating tone she always used when it was E in trouble. He's your brother, honey. Family sticks together. You'll figure something out. Figure something out? I was trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't even apologize. He thinks I'm the one overreacting. My dad sighed, like I was some petulant kid. Family is family, son. You don't want to destroy your relationship with E over a car. It was like every time before, but so much worse. It made it feel like I was the one causing trouble. The thought of suing E came to me then, but I pushed it aside. I knew what my parents would think of that. I'd be the villain. But as the days passed, E didn't just fail to make things right. He rubbed it in. When I asked if he'd even consider helping pay me back in installments, he laughed. What? You think I'm made of money? Come on, man. Don't be a prick. It's just a car. And the worst part? My parents still backed him up. Every single time. They shrugged it off, acted like I was the one making a big deal out of nothing. It was the final straw. This wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about boundaries, respect, the fact that my family would always choose E over me. I had to stand up for myself, even if it meant pushing back against every expectation they'd set for me. So I did it. I filed a lawsuit. I wasn't playing nice anymore. When E received the notice, he showed up at my apartment, hammering on the door, demanding answers. He looked genuinely furious, like I was the one who'd wronged him. What the hell are you thinking? He said, his face twisted with entitlement. I gave you every chance to make this right, I said, meeting his glare. You didn't even offer to pay me back. You took my car like it was yours, and you don't care about the damage. He scoffed, throwing his hands up. You're just jealous because Mom and Dad actually care about me. That's what this is about, isn't it? I finally said everything I'd bottled up for years. Told him how sick I was of being treated like I didn't matter. He just stood there, stunned, as I listed every time he'd gotten away with everything, while I'd been left to fend for myself. It was like talking to a wall. Nothing got through to him. Then came the dirty tricks. My parents went from just disappointed to actively trying to destroy my case. They called every family member, every family friend, and everyone who knew us, painting me as the ungrateful son. Soon, aunts, uncles, and cousins were calling to tell me how disrespectful I was being, how I was betraying my own family over a little accident. Then my mom took it up a notch. She showed up at my workplace. My job is pretty quiet, so to see my mom barging in looking furious was mortifying. She demanded we talk right there in front of my colleagues. My boss called me aside afterward, genuinely concerned, asking if everything was okay. I was humiliated, but I knew exactly why she'd done it. To embarrass me, to make me look like the unstable one. When that didn't work, they went deeper. Suddenly, I got a call from my landlord that my rent check had bounced. I'd set up direct deposit, and I knew I had the funds. When I checked my bank, I found that my parents had accessed an old college account we still shared, siphoning off a chunk of my savings without asking. When I confronted them, my dad didn't even flinch. "You only took what you didn't need," he said. "You'll thank us one day. Maybe this is the wake-up call you need." They told me they'd return the money if I dropped the lawsuit. I was beyond furious. It was clear to me they'd go to any lengths to protect E and keep me from getting justice. And E decided to take it even further. A week later, I got served with papers. I filed a counterclaim, claiming I'd harassed him over the lawsuit. The document was packed with lies. He alleged I'd sent him abusive messages, that I'd threatened him, even that I'd created a hostile environment for him. It was obvious what he was doing, trying to force me to settle, make the whole ordeal so draining and costly that I'd just give up. My lawyer advised me to consider settling, pointing out that the counterclaim could drag on for months, but I was too angry to back down. I couldn't let E get away with this. As the court date approached, my dad made one last desperate move. He invited me over for a family dinner, saying he wanted to settle things peacefully. I went, mostly out of curiosity. Maybe I thought they'd finally see sense. Maybe they'd finally hear me out. When I arrived, they'd laid out my favorite meal. For a second, it felt like a real family dinner, like they'd set all this aside and actually listened to me. But then my dad slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a family contract they'd drawn up. The document stated that if I agreed to drop the lawsuit, he would work off the debt in vague terms that meant nothing. It was filled with loopholes and vague promises, just an attempt to trick me into a settlement that they'd never actually honor. When I refused to sign, my dad's calm facade crumbled. He exploded, telling me I was cold-hearted and that I was cold-hearted and that I'd never understand the importance of family. He was yelling now, his voice shaking with anger. My mom was sitting beside him, nodding along like she agreed with every word, like they were united in their anger against me, their own son. "You're betraying us over a damn car. Do you realize that?" he hissed. "All this over one little mistake. You're pathetic." Just sat there across from me, arms crossed, with this smug grin on his face, watching the whole thing unfold. Didn't say a word. Didn't apologize. Just sat there, enjoying watching them try to break me down on his behalf. "I'm betraying you?" Shot back, trying to keep my voice steady. "He stole from me. He wrecked my car and laughed about it. Now you're acting like I'm the villain because I'm asking him to take responsibility." My dad laughed, this cold, dismissive sound. "Responsibility? You have no idea what that word means, do you? He has been there for this family, always. He's never turned his back on us like you are now. Maybe we just raised you too soft." Too soft? I couldn't believe it. They were treating me like I was the one who'd screwed up, like I was the one who'd crossed the line. My voice started to rise. I'm the one who's always been there doing everything by the book while he's gotten away with everything, and I'm done with it. He didn't even flinch. My mom looked at me with this sad, pitying expression, like she was disappointed in me, but still loved me in her own twisted way. Honey, she said softly, you're throwing away your family over something so small. This isn't worth losing us over. Drop this, please, before it's too late. I looked at them all, my family, the people who were supposed to have my back. But they didn't. They never had. And in that moment, I realized they never would. So I stood up, took a deep breath, and said, I'm not the one who's throwing anything away. You did that a long time ago. And I walked out. The court date finally came, and I could feel their eyes on me as I testified. My parents were there, sitting on E's side, glaring at me like I was some kind of traitor. E's counterclaim was quickly dismissed by the judge as baseless, and I watched the color drain from his face as the verdict was handed down. He had to pay every cent for the damages, plus a little extra for dragging things out. I didn't get an apology. Not from E, not from my parents. They cut me off after that. Told the whole family I was ungrateful, that I'd abandoned them for money. I got calls from aunts, uncles, cousins, all telling me how disappointed they were, how they couldn't believe I'd done this to my own brother. You know what? I don't regret it. For the first time, I stood up for myself, stopped playing the role of the family doormat. And I've been better off ever since. I realized family isn't about blood. It's about respect, about loyalty that goes both ways. And if they couldn't give me that, they weren't family at all. To anyone who's stuck in a family that doesn't respect you, who thinks you're supposed to sacrifice everything to keep them happy, stand your ground. You deserve better. And if you like this story and know someone else who needs to hear it, hit subscribe. You're not alone.